Assalamu alaikum. Now we discuss some resources or a suggestion how to use them. This is the main text we are using. You see, this is a big book. It says مجموع المتون الكبير. It's a collection of main bodies of text that summarizes the rules for a science or the basis for one of these sciences. So you have 63 of those. They used to memorize one of these texts, then they spend however long time they need to study it. The text we are studying, it's about 13 pages from 207 up to page 219 on a PDF pages. So if you look at this text, it has a PDF number which will be at the top bar, or if you can have the bar shown like this. If you press here, it will show on the top, it will be fixed, or it can hover like this at the bottom if you press this corner here. So this PDF, now if you want to look for different pages, you just go there. You see now all the pages, you can scroll fast. So I know my page is on 207, so I can go to that page. This here, and then I can enlarge the screen. You see, you can move the bar, adjust it. So this is the text we are studying. So if we go back to 107, so this is the text. You can hide this page or this index. Then you can just roll it up the page. Of course, you can zoom in and out on it. You see, this is the beginning of the text we're studying. So now, if we read, that's the point we reached last time. So let's say now, because of what we started this playlist with, is the idea that you can look at a text with diacritics and start to use a code. However, how many codes you know will help you speed up the process of figuring out what each of these words is, and you use that method of studying. So we learned about the marks for nouns and some of the marks for verbs, so we can use them when we study a text such as this. So now if you figure out which are the names, nouns, which are the verbs, and you need to use a dictionary. So if I want to see what the meaning of this word here, babu. So I can go to, if you have this PDF viewer open, you can go to this book. This is the dictionary, old dictionary, hundreds of years old dictionary. You see here on the side, you can go to the letter. The name of this book is Arab lessana. So if I scroll up here, scroll up to there, you see this is the name of it, لسان العرب. The English wording they use for Arab lessana. Just Google that and you can download this PDF. You see, you can make it. Now this text has, all these diacritics and explanation, and this is very detailed. So if I go to look up that word, we said bab, which is the first letter of is ba. You see, they even used babul ba because that's the word used for chapter, so or section. This is the section of the ba. So we can go there. One note about this: whenever you see three-letter root, that's what these old dictionaries use. You can always Google the meaning of the word, but this is a way of you finding a source that gives you how the word changes and how, if it's a verb or a noun, and how it was used. So this is more detailed. And of course this is advanced, but this is the point of using these resources, is to be able to use that method. Look at the text, and now you can have all these resources in front of you. You just click on them and search for what you need. So when we went from the text we are studying, we went to this dictionary, we found the word, you scroll down to that section, you see if it's too long, they have this Jim stands for juzo, which means part, and this Jim, this is 4, this is 5. So if you look up at Jim, this part, first up, no, it's past the alif. So we look for the second letter. We said the first letter is the ba, the second letter is the a, so it must be in the first section. Now you can go faster with these arrows on top. They're not showing here in this bar, they're showing at the top of the window. You will have it on your PDF viewer. So now you see I get to ba here, but then I don't find that bab. It did not find. You see it here, badge, but you did not see that bab. So the reason for that is you always, when you use these older dictionaries, the 3 letters, vowels, the u, the ya or e, and the a, they change. So if you see a verb and you think it's a word of 3 letters, and you think it's a verb, always expect not to find what you're looking. It could be changed from a ya or the wa. So if I look here, I can't find the ba. The third letter of bab is ba. They jump to the G here, you see. So I can't find the ba. So what you do is you go to the next letter. So if it's not the ba, it must have been an u. They changed it. That's what the only thing you need to know about these letters, the 3 letters. It could exist as an a, but it could have been changed from the wa or the ya, and you look for that. So I did not find it here, the bab. You see other words here, they had it, the letter after it, but in this one here, bab, so it must have been changed from another one of those 2, the e or the wa. So I look for an u now, or a ya. So if I go scroll down to see a ba, the second letter u, you see you find here an e. This is a ba, 2 babs. That's not an e. So then I keep going until I get to the wo and e, and usually they're towards the end. So the first letter is ba, the second is either an u or a ya, because I did not find it at the a. I'm doing it this slower. I can scroll down faster, but I want you to see that even if you're doing this way, it's you can do it easy when you get used to it. So if you know the alphabet, you can have it in front of you, and you see where the u would be. It's towards the end, so you can go as fast as you can with these. The U and the E are at the end of the alphabet, and that's what the second letter we're looking for now. Now we get to it. You see, we get ba. These are 3 letters. That's not what we're looking. We get the ba, we get the wa. Let's see if we can. Now we see it. You see it? That's the ba, wa, ba. So I get the 3 letters. So if the a in this bab, this word here, bab, was changed from this u, we will see here. So I'll scroll down on this page. That's where it starts. You see, this is bawaba. So now it has different meanings, of course, because you don't know the language yet. But this is I'm just letting you know about the resources that you can have. So if you have this and you wanna see a different a sentence of it and try to analyze it and write it on Google Translate or ask someone about it, you can go back to this dictionary. Of course, as I said, this is advanced, but this is what you can have when you do research. So if I look here, bawaba, that's the origin of it. And now I read all this, so I get this, والباب معروف. Al-bab is known. So he's saying this word bab is known for everybody. It means door. Then he gives you how you make the plural of it, and you have two variations on it. Then he gives evidence from the poetry. Then he now goes into deeper explanation of how it's used and when it's used as a verb, because bawab is if you say bawab, meaning he's making doors or he's installing doors to something, just like on a book. He made the chapters of the book 5, let's say. He بوب الكتاب لخمسة أبواب. So he made the book. You're using the same word for door is changed from a verb. As I said, this is advanced, but I want you to see the resources available for you. And because of we're learning to analyze a text with diacritics, you see now, even if you did not know how to read this, you can look at the text and it's with diacritics. You found out how to find with this door, bawaba, and you see a text there. You can choose to study some of it or ask someone about it. But once you get into the language, let's say you get advanced into the grammar and you know some basics, you will be able to use this, because all these are just sentences, and even though it's advanced, but you can use it even if only for the diacritics. You can get used to spelling these diacritics. You can always keep this at hand, and if you have questions, now you have a source to refer to. You can say, I looked for this word and this is the text. If you need someone to read it for you or explain what you're thinking. Or when you talk to advanced students in the grammar, you can use this. As I said, this is just to let you know what resources are there. You can always go to Google dictionary or just Google the word. If you want to get deeper into it, this is where you can. This is one of the free sources available. I'm not using this in my videos because I'm not sure about the copyright of these books. But as I said, it's available for free download, so you can use it. You see, it's easy to look for the stuff here. So if you look for a word, you have the page there. You can have a discussion over it, or you can study it. Again, this is advanced, but now you look at the text, you want to analyze it. You know there are some dictionaries that you can download, and they're easy to navigate. Of course, they have too much information, this is the whole point of having this huge book. It's over 5,000 pages. But you can always have it at your fingertips and have something to discuss with someone if you're looking for it. I think this is enough. I just wanted to talk about these vowels, how they change. And this is important when you look for these words that have vowels in them. Now, another resource. Let's say you have a text you want to analyze. We learned the marks for nouns. And now you singled out what can possibly be the verb. So this is another book. This is كتاب مغني المتعلم عن المعلم, which this means here that eliminates the need of the learning person for a teacher. So it means you don't need a teacher with using this book. I think it's too deep for a beginner level, but there are some tables in it. This is the name of him, this priest from Lebanon. It was printed in 1900. All these books, I will leave the links for them in the description of the video on YouTube. If you watch it there, you can just go down to the description. I will see some of the links. If not, just go to that site, the Arabic Collection Online, and just either you see here on this page, if you pause it, you read this, you can write these words on there, or use the Arabic text and write these two words, few words there. That's how you can get to this text here. Now, if I go to page 18 or 20, this book here, they made the copies like 2 pages the same thing. So some of these notes about this book is they repeated the text twice. So you will see this table in page 18 too. So just skip that. You can use either one of them. It's the same. So you have here, notice what he did. He has a noun, kitab, which means book. Then at the end of it, he attached the pronouns you use in the Arabic language. So the first two, this e here, when it's attached to a noun, it gives you the possessive my. So if you say my book, that's how you say it in Arabic. You say kitabi. You add that e to it. If it's attached to a verb, it becomes the object. So, but you add before it an n. That's too much grammar. I'm not going to go into. But just to distinguish, when it's attached to a noun, it's a possessive form. If it's attached to one of those lowering letters, for, to, e, it's like me. You use it like you use me in English. So you say to me, for me, by me. In Arabic, for both, the e is used. But you distinguish between them. If it's attached to a noun, like here, a book, it means my book. If it's attached to a verb, it's the object of that verb. But for this e special, you will always see an n before it if it's attached to a verb. It helps with the pronunciation because of the special nature of verbs. Here, the na is for the first person plural and the e for the first person singular. These two are for feminine and masculine, both. They can use it the same thing. So these two you need to know, the e and the na. So you got here, this is just a description of what I just said. Na is ضمير المتكلم تثنية وجمعا. Whether they're two or more, you use this na. المفرد here, الياء ضمير المتكلم المفرد. The singular speaker. A pronoun for the singular speaker. The next 5 here, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All you need to know is the ka. This ka here when it's written separate, and this ka here when it's attached to the beginning of a word or in the middle of the word. It's the same sound, ka. This kaf, it's called kaf, the name of it. The way you pronounce it is ka, or ki, or ku. So the pronoun for second person, for possessive when it's attached to a noun, or object when it's attached to a verb, is this ka. That's all you need to know. So now you know 3. E for the first person singular, na for the first person plural or dual, the ka for the second person. In all of these you see the ka. Here it's written as if it's when it's separate. At the end looks the same as if it's separate, ka. Then it looks in the middle like this. You see it's attached to all these 6 here. So this is the pronoun for the second person, ka. That's it, the ka. Now to distinguish between them, if they're two, you add this ma. If they're just plural, second person plural, you just add m, and they're masculine, m. So you think of m as man, male, masculine. That's the letter for the plural of masculine, m. You see kitabukum, you added the ku here. The way you pronounce it is u, ku. Here for a singular ka, for the two ku, kitabukuma. This ma will indicate the dual. This is for the plural masculine. Now here you notice the second broken end ki. Kitabuka, this is masculine second person. Ki, masculine second person, feminine second person singular. Kitabuki. So you see, you only need to as the ka as the second person, but how it changes decides who you are talking to. So this is a table. I don't have to go through all of them. This is just an example. Here, notice the ma is for both feminine and masculine. So you kitabukuma, whether you're talking to two a woman or two men, you say ma. You add the ma to this ka. If it's a group of women, this an. So think of this an as feminine, woman, an. That's for women plural. It also is used as a pronoun for the subject. So distinguish between the two. Sometimes you will hear it described as the plural. This an is indicating the plural. It's not a pronoun, and then it's a pronoun when it's attached to verbs. And as I said, that's deeper in the grammar. You don't need to, but you see this table here will help you. You can have it on your viewer, the PDF viewer, and when you're analyzing a text, you can always look for it. I don't like the idea of just keep memorizing stuff. By using it, you will always remember it when you need it. So if you're reading a text and you see this word here, you recognize that this is a noun because it had a min or one of those lowering letters, one of the signs we learned, the marks for a noun. You saw it in front of it, so you're sure this here is a noun. Now you know the ka could be the pronoun. So you come to this table. You don't have to memorize it. You come to this table because the text would have diacritics on it. You see this a. When we study this table, then that's what we will get to when we study the pronouns. We will discuss these more. So until we get to that, you have it there. You can always refer to it. Now you have a resource to refer to when you want to analyze these pronouns when they attach to nouns. And the name of these pronouns actually is the object pronouns, or the nasib, not the object. They call it the nasib, meaning they are in a position that if you had a regular noun there, it would have the a on the end of it. But because these are fixed, they will always have the same movement, unless there are different regulations for these, but we don't have to worry about that for now. So we learned the ka for the second person. We just add another letter for it to change who we are talking to. These other here, the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These other 6 here, they will have the ha. This refers to the third person, ha. So without any movement, just kitabuhu, you say hu, it's fixed on hu, the u on it. It's for this third person singular masculine, hu. Notice it's on all these verbs. That's what I said. It's for the third person, it's the ha. Then you add these letters you added here, you add to those. So you get the ma for the dual, m for the masculine plural, ha for this one here, you just add the a. So the ha for the third person, the ka for the second person, ki for the second person feminine, singular, the ha for the third person feminine singular, ha. It's hair book. You see this a for the alif for feminizing. Ma here for both. This here same for feminine and masculine. You just add the ma. For third person dual. Again, this an for the plural of feminine. And feminine and masculine. Here you get some description of these. And That's not what we will go through. So this is another resource. In the same book here, you have another table that you can always useful to have with you when you're analyzing a text. So in here you have a word to help or aid someone if you're assisting someone, but it's not usually used with regular assistance. If you're helping someone in a distress or trouble, this word is used, nasara, or in war or something like this, nasar. So you see now this is a verb, and you have all these, how it changes with these pronouns. Same thing here as I said before. You just need to learn. For the third person, the root word stays as it is, nasara. If you add this a for the dul, this is for the absent, the third person. This here u is for the third person, and this letter here just to distinguish it from this u from regular u. So it tells you that this is not part of this word, it's just a pronoun. And that's the purpose of this. It's not there to be pronounced, you just say nasaru. It's just a mark. So you see it's a, u, and nothing. That's for the third person. The sta here is for the feminine. If you say nasarat, you're talking about third person feminine. Notice here now, the sta is used for feminizing third person dul. Then here for the feminine pronoun. This is a pronoun now. It's not for the plural. Nasarna. They feminine. In here, that's the ta for the verb. So ta, tu. You notice all these will get that ta. So here, ta, tuma, tun. Here is the ta. So if you learn this ta here, you just add these to it. As I said, I don't want to go too deep on these, but here the last one is this here for the first person, nasartu, feminine or masculine. First person plural, nasarna, feminine or masculine. So this is the same verb in the past tense. The second table is for the present. We learned about the present tense letters, anaitu. So you see them at the beginning of the same verb. You see how they're attached to it, either a ta or a ya or an a or an an. These here for the first singular, first person singular, first person plural. Then here you notice the ta with all these, you just change the ending there. So this is for the verb. I hope you're not overwhelmed for this. This is not the purpose of this. As I said, you can use this just like you use any other table in any technical field. You don't memorize all these tables. That's why tables exist. So you can refer to them. So if you analyze a text and you need to come and find this word here, and it could be another verb here, yaktuban, ya'malan, you see that they will have the same ending here and the same first letter there for present tense. So you do that few times because you need to find out what that word is without memorizing. Now this word becomes familiar to you just because you used it. And that's the whole point of this method I'm trying to use to teach this basics of the grammar. So that's the way I think you should use this. Okay, you can look at this, try to study it, see the difference, but don't spend too much time trying to memorize it. It's just will get you tired and you will not be able to recall it because it's without context. So if I repeat this a million times, yansurun, I say it's for third person. If I read the 2 pages and this word does not come up, and it doesn't come up all the time, let's say, because of the text I'm using did not use it, so you will forget about it. But if you find it in a text and few times you do this and come back for it, it will stick and you will remember it. And that's learning by doing. That's the whole point of this. So I'm letting you know what sources have these tables and a way you can use it. You can always find different ways. Of course, when we study these tables deeper, I will write down these in English and explain it differently. But now you can recognize the shapes. So you have this table, you know it's for verbs or present. This here for the present tense. This here says the pronouns. Who's the subject pronoun? This telling you this table is to indicate the subject pronouns and how they attach to these verbs. And these here are the extra letters. They have their purpose, but it's here to indicate that this is a raised verb. But they're using the N here, this N there. Again, just think this is just to show you resources. It's not study, and you can use it when you want to analyze a text. Now another one here is for commands. You see this now, how the same verb, how it changes with different pronouns. So these are the subjects, the O here. If nothing is attached, that it implies the second person singular masculine. You see, and it's only 4 or 5 of them. That's for the commands. If you use the verb in a command way, you see how this type of verbs take this at the beginning when you make in the command. That's another table you can use when you analyze a text. Here he's going deeper into how these work, but we will not go into that. So this is an example of the tables that you can have in this book. Now another one here, this here you can just enter the word أفعال, or just copy this here. This word معجم وتوليد الأفعال أفعال اللغة العربية وتصريفها. This is the name of this author. This is a modern book. It was done in 2016. This is the name of the, if you go this Aluka, I want this, you see this here Aluka. Every time I come to this bar it covers it, but here just Aluka net. If you go to this site, you say it's إهداء من شبكة الألوكا. It's a present from this network, because they say it's a gift or a إهداء. So anyway, you can go to their site and see if you want to print it or use it however, but you can download it just if you enter أفعال, the word Afaal.pdf, it will show. So this is the site. You can go to this site, lessana. This is the gentleman who authored it or worked on it. His name is Abdulaziz bin Abdullah Saleh al-Mahyoubi, professor of linguistics or computer linguists or languages. See here it says there is no paper version of this dictionary. If you need to print it or any part of it, you can call him on this number. That's his email. Now that's his introduction. Now I'll show you some examples. All of this is, you see, has all these tables about verbs. So as I said, this is the form that has no vowels in it. So he says here, describes Sahih Salim. It has no vowels and there is no doubling on these letters on it. So that's the description here. That's another one, gives you the name of it. Of course, you don't have to know these now, but this is another resource. You see, this is another verb. All these separate pronouns. These are the pronouns when they are separate. أنا, نحن, أنت, أنتِ. You see where that came from, where that comes from, where that an comes from, because of these. Where that ha comes from, this is the separate pronoun. Huwa is he, hiya is she, huma is they, dual. If they are two person, you say huma, hum. So these are all the separate pronouns. That's how they look when they are attached to the verb. You see, helps you make the connection there. You see, she indicated by this ta. That's the last mark we learned about. This here is too advanced. If the subject is known, this is here is ana. I did this act or this verb. Here, if it was done to you, that's how you change. The verb changes. Of course, we're not going to cover this now. We'll talk about it briefly. It's not something you need to worry about for now. You see the changing on the first letter. Once you know that change, that's it, you're set. There's other changes on the second letter. But just so you know, you have it there. You have a table for it, how it attaches to pronouns. Here's another verb, has different setup. You know how I talked about these verbs having that in it, and its origin is u or e. You see here it disappeared. When you attached a pronoun to it, it's disappeared. This is in the past if you attach the pronoun. When you see it in the present now, you will see what I'm talking about. Now all these are different 3-letter roots and how they change and when they're attached to the pronoun. You see there is a pattern for these, so don't just be overwhelmed with this. You see it's all these letters the same attached to the verb. This is all in the past tense and how these behave. Now you see the last letter on the root, it stays there. You see how it stays there? Then he gives you some of these, they're called fixed verbs. They're not changing, they stay the same, but they're considered the verbs nevertheless. But that's a discussion for another day. That's a table for these. You notice this is the one we looked at, the same verb, but now he's joining them together. Now you see this is here is the present tense for that verb. We saw how it changes. Now he gives you, when these are the laws of the grammar. If you have, I talked about the marks of a verb and the negation or the emphasis and how it affects the ending of these present tense. Now you have a table for that. So if you just learn this here, what is a present tense that is in the state of mansub? We talked about in the last video. That's one of the states of a verb, or 3 states of a present tense verb. One of them is mansub, and that's how it will behave with different pronouns. The second one, if it's negated with this jazm, that's another one of those 3 states of present tense I talked about. You will see at the end of the verb how it changes. Now you have a table for it, you see? That's why I like this work by this man. He did a good job with these. So now you have a table for it. You can verify it quickly, your analysis. So you say, okay, this is this or that. You can have these tables there. You just look at them. And once you get used to how to use them, you will see how useful they are. These here, there is an an that attaches to an end of a verb. And that's how it behaves, if it's heavy, if it's light. As I said, just letting you know what resources you can have. And this is to a lot of details, but you will see how useful that is if you're analyzing a text. All you need to know is to understand these, and that's what we're learning in basic grammar. What is majzoom? That's what we will study. What is mansoob? This is present tense. You will soon learn it because that's what one of the marfu'as. You see al-marfu', this is one of the states we study. You'll see more. I'll discuss another table now. So that's another resource. Now, this here is the text we are studying, but they have it set up in a different way. So you can go write these. The site I got this from, it's under maintenance now. I tried to access it yesterday. It's called Mektabet Noor, or Noor, Noor Library. If you just write this Matnul الآجرومية, you see these words in Arabic, you will see some sources or sites that provide this. If you write all this here, دائرة المعارف الإسلامية, that will narrow your search. But notice here what they did. This is the scaffolding or the skeleton of the text of the الآجرومية. This is the text we're studying, the 12 pages I talked about. But you see here, if you have this image in front of you, now you see this is the division of work. That's the easy one. We talked word or language according to the grammarians. You have the noun, the verb, and the letter. So this gives you a visual of the text. Here it gives you the 4 states of i'rab, or how the end changes on a verb or a noun. You see, you just look at this quickly, and if you want to review what you know, you just always open to this page and look at these. So these are the states of a noun and a verb. But now he breaks it down. You see their verbs change into these 3: past, present, and command. This here tells you what part of nouns go under the state of this here, rafa. You see, you have it all in front of you on one page in an easy way to look at. So you have the subject, the na'ib al-fa'il, what replaces the subject, but it is actually the object. We have a special case like this. It would look like take the movement of the subject, but it's not. So that's the second case. So you get 7 of those. You just learn what those are. And these nouns, all these are nouns. So when you see a noun that has that mark of raising I talked about, now you have them all listed in a simple way. This is the nouns under the state of rafa, or being raised. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We will study these separately. Each one of these will know what they are separately. But this is for a quick reference. You see here the nouns that go under the state of nasb have that at the end, or what's something that replaces it, like an e. Other marks, you see they listed all of them here. So by looking at this text here, or visual aid, you see here they have it organized in a different way. So they here explain the first words that I talked about the text. What is a lafz, or the pronouncement? So they don't consider writing as subject for grammar, the lines, the writing, or the pointing at, or indexing. These are language. All this is language, but it's not part of the grammar that they study. So they're letting you know what subject you cover by studying grammar. Just the things that you say, the pronouncement. And here the different words, what they mean. You see here it goes with the noun. So what a noun can be, it's a human, an animal, and it gives you example of it. A verb, past tense, present, the letter, meaning letters, some attached to a verb. So it's a quick reminder of the things you are studying. You just look at it, you say, okay, you have it all in a different setup. in here you have more detailed. You see, you have, these are the marks of the noun that we were talked about. So lowering, he gives you a sentence here and gives you the mark here, n, zaydin. These are one of the, I said proper nouns, they take this tanween, n, and indefinite nouns. So here they give you an example. Here you have example for the marks for a verb. So you just scroll through these pages and you review what you know. Here you have the i'rab, more details. This here for the three states for nouns, 3 states for verbs. Again, just go back to the first page and enter these words, and you should be able to find it. I don't have the link for these. I just looked for them that way. I just wrote متن الآجرومية, the 2 words, and I had different options. Now you have the full name, so that should narrow your search. This here is another one, since we are going to start talking about the grammar and what causes these changes. You see here, this is another resource. This here is called شرح الكفراوي على الآجرومية. This Kafrawi is a grammarian who lived a few hundred years ago, and he explained this book, الآجرومية, the text we are studying. It says here he's doing i'rab to that text. So the body the text or the body of text that we are studying, he tells you why did it take those movements. We have diacritics on those words that we are studying in that text. So this is a new edition of the old text. It's this is the name of the university, Al-Asmariya Al-Islamiyya University. So this is another free resource. I think, this is here the Library of Palestine for photographed books. Now you can go to you see this here, you can go to this page and scroll through these options. You see, it gives you here an index, so you can look for what you want. So if I want to go to where we ended, we came to this here, page 55. Of course, on a PDF, the page is different. So I can go to page 55. This brings me to the beginning. This is the old text. You see, these are the old text. That's their source for this information. Now you see how it's written. Now if I go to page 55, that's where we are in our text. Okay, it's the same as the PDF. That's good. This is page 55. So now you see this word bab. What's the description of this word in the sentence? And its state, it's being marfu', it was raised. And the indication for that raising is this u. It's called dhamma, the dhamma. That is shown. So, and now he gives you different ways that you can understand this word, because this is not a full sentence. So there is a possibility you can use this babul i'rab, the door or the section of i'rab or grammar, because you can imply it in different ways. There are different explanation for what it could be. An here instead of babu, it could be baba. But and how now he gives you why is that possible, because you can say it different ways. You can include it in a sentence and it changes its state. And that's the case with all titles. You know, the titles are not full sentences. So you can understand why the movement can be different from one text to another. Now he tells you why it's possible to have that different of movement. So it's always a good idea to keep an open mind. When you discuss these things, always consider that could be another way of thinking about this. So that's very helpful when you're learning. It's not about dogma or just winning an argument. There's always different reasons for how these people describe these things. You see now, this is another resource that's very good for you when we start learning. So now, if I go to the second here, now the sentence we read in our text is the same here, but he now tells you what exactly how the grammarian will think about the position of this word, and he tells you how to pronounce it. See, الإعراب بكسر الهمزة. Hamza is this here. He's telling you have to break it. بكسر الهمزة, you break it. So you don't say al-a or al-i, al-u, you say al-i. So he's telling you how it's pronounced correctly. Al-i'rab. Here is the name of that state. It's a noun you start with. It's called mubtada. Mubtada, which is what you start with. Ibtada, started with. It's the name of it. A noun you start with, that's the name for it. Raised, marfu'. Why? Because of this start. That they explain this. If the noun starts the sentence, it's called mubtada, and that's the cause of it. So any noun that starts a sentence, take this state here. Now he explained what i'rab is, and by convention what they agreed to use it as for the grammar reasons, and he explained these grammar positions. You see, that's khabar and things like this. So the benefit of this resource is we study the grammar. Okay, I studied this grammar. I know you take the u if it's a subject, or it's a mubtada, a noun you start with, or one of the 7 positions I just discussed. Now you need to explain it. Why did it take the u, did not take the e or the a? You have someone doing exactly that here. You have a text that explained a sentence and how each one of these words got that movement at the end, and that's what grammar is. So that's a good resource to have, and this is the point of having these resources or these books. You train your analytical skill by seeing how a grammarian explained these, and this text is famous. It's used, so a lot of people liked it over the centuries. So that's another useful text. Again, it's advanced, but you can have it with you, and you can discuss it with someone. Or every time we study this, I might point out to something like this, or I'll try to keep it simpler than this for the first few videos as we did. But now you have a resource. You can go to more details. Another text you can have, you see this here is from Haywood 65. I discussed this before in another video. You see here he gives you the verb, same thing, opened. You see he attached the pronouns in it, and then he write it in English letters, then he gives you the meaning. This is another useful resource. Of course, just like all others, in your PDF viewer, you just scroll to the index and say you have a question about he's here giving you different nouns and how they're pronounced. So this is the name of the book. You can just Google this one. You see, these are the authors. Now you just go to the index. So we're discussing gender, feminine. You just go to that page. You see, you find out this is page, let's say the verb, page 94. You just scroll to it. Or at the top of my viewer here, I have numbers. I can just delete the number there and enter the number I want. You can do it different ways here. We said 94. Of course, it's a PDF, so you get different pages. That's Actually, this is the same, they used it. So you see here, chapter 12, the verb. Now you have the كتب, how they explain it, how it's written, and how you pronounce it. This is a very useful resource. Also it has, this, you can see there's tables here. You have letters. That's another very useful resource. We discussed all these now. Now this is another text. I have the link for this in my previous video in the description, for a full diacritics text, just to practice pronunciation. So if you go to Haywood book, you learn few things about pronunciation. You can try the main body of this text, which is the dictionary part, will have the full diacritics. You see here all these diacritics on it. This is also over 1,000-page detailed dictionary, but it follows a different pattern than the other one. Now in here, if you can go to the end of it, you will have so many indexes. Here it tells you the mistakes they made, and they point to the page where they made the mistake. This is for other words. That's another there's almost 10 indexes. Each one covers something and tells you what page you're looking for. So if you're looking for poets that are mentioned in this text, you will find an index for it. If you're looking for a certain word, he will give you the pages that word is in. So you have an index for that. In here, this is another index. That's just for the words. That's a huge index here. You have it here. You look at this one. You see, just the indexes will guide you through so much information. These are the names of that nouns. You see, for the poets, these are the names of the poets in this index. So this is a very good resource, but the way we use it, only to read. So if you go to most of the pages of this index, you will find, you see here, all these diacritics. It's a beautiful text, and you just practice pronunciation and read this out loud. The more practice on reading this out loud, the more natural the language becomes. So moving between different letters and using these short vowels, u, and e, and going from the definite article to indefinite, using that and that all becomes natural the more you practice. And you have the guide there. Take your time analyzing how to pronounce this word, then and pronounce it the way you can. Then you add another word for it. These are called vowel texts. So you see all the vowels are on it. And I guess one of the reasons you don't find it in a regular text, because most of it becomes a habit. So the past tense have certain movements that most of them use. So you will have at the three letters. كتب, أمر, أخذ, all So that's why you don't need it all the time. But you need to get used to it by reading text like this. And that's the best way to practice. And of course, every time you read a text like this, you're following every grammar rule that the language has. This here, I discussed this before. This for the English language. It's designed for teaching English to Arabic speaking people. It's 1888. That's when this book was authored. These are the names of it. You just enter this book and that at Arabic collection online. You see, if you go, you see here, this is another aid on how to pronounce these letters at the alphabet. M here, the M as in man, so you can ma here as ma. N, so it's designed for teaching English to Arabic speaking. So you have some letters here that are not Arabic, like this here, 3 dots. You don't have it in Arabic, but it gives you an idea how to make a relation to the English language, how they sound. You see this S here is described in different ways here, but in Arabic you're using the same letter, sa here, but you can have it as yes, then you have it as in city. So we always use the same letter on these positions, and we use the short vowels to make that difference. That's another resource. Now we have this text that we are studying in regular videos. This is about the stories of Charles Dickens. This is the name, the most beautiful stories, that's the description there, for the genius author and social reformer Charles Dickens. Muhammad Atiyah al-Abrashi, this is the writer, the author of this book. He's a graduate of Exeter and London School in England. He's a professor in the House of Science. That's the name of a place he works in. Rights preserved. This is also an old book. I think it's from the, you see, 1939. This is 1939. That's when he wrote this book. Now if we go to some of the stories in here. First he talks about the life of Dickens. Then he starts, this is the first story, David Copperfield. Notice here it has diacritics. It's enough for you to use them to recognize these nouns. You see, he has them here more than he had with when he was describing the life of Dickens. It's a good resource for practicing. When we get to this, I'll explain this in English and use these marks to find what are the nouns, the verbs, and all that. So if you have this, download it, have it on your viewer to use it for practice. You see, you can look for these vowels. You see, it's all voweled here. And it's entertaining. It's a famous story. Now, these you can read in English. So if you read this David Copperfield in English from Charles Dickens, then you study the same paragraph here in Arabic. Now you have the skills to pick out the indefinite nouns, definite nouns, lowering letters. The idea is to use the language. So if you know 1 or 2 of these lowering letters and you use them, it's better than memorizing and not understanding what they are, how to find them, how to use them. So that's the whole point of this text, is to use what you know, or this playlist. Thank you for listening. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.